Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with RareGem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield, Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And I am Cheryl Watkins Moore, the Director of the Inclusion Initiative with BioSTL.
Welcome back to our regular listeners and welcome to our newest listeners who are joining us for a podcast that is all about stepping outside of your comfort zone. So we encourage you to carve out this time to really think about your opportunities, your business goals, new ways of looking at the world around you and the opportunities that might exist, because we know that you can be entrepreneurial right where you are. We encourage you to stay connected with Entrepreneurially Thinking on your favorite streaming platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or by visiting our entrepreneuriallythinking.com website and following the hashtag ETHINKSTL.
Well, today, thank you everyone for joining us. And we didn't tease this up, but we are sitting in our third season.
We are.
We are so happy. And congratulations to the listeners. Congratulations to us. Thank you guys so much. Today, we're going to be speaking to representatives, Mr. Ronald Moore and Dr. Terrence Freeman from the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE, an organization that got its start on Purdue's campus back in 1971. I thought it was very interesting about their history. They were formed, the original name of the organization was Black Society of Engineers, and it was totally in response to trends that occurred in the late 1960s. At one point, there was a devastating number of black freshmen, almost 80%, that entered the program that subsequently dropped out. So the founders of the organization, Edward Barnett, who's now deceased, and Fred Cooper, wanted to establish a student organization to help improve the recruitment and retention of black engineering students. The dean agreed to the idea, and hence the start of a great and impactful organization. Today, NSBE has since grown from 6 members to over 31,000 members. This organization offers academic excellence programs, scholarships, leadership training, professional development, and access to career opportunities for thousands of members annually.
That's one heck of a student organization, right?
Right. Their annual meeting has blossomed into the annual national convention, hosting over, get this, 8,000 attendees.
Wow.
NSBE has 99 active NSBE junior pre-college chapters, 250 student chapters, and 68 professional chapters.
That's a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
And
yes.
you know I'm married to an engineer, so I have a special place in my heart for all those who engineer.
My sister is a chemical engineer and actually was involved in NSBE in her high school and college
very
years.
cool.
Yes, so that's a special place in my heart. Ron and Dr. Freeman are here today representing the St. Louis chapter, and we'll be talking to them after the break about their great programming, their impact and support of those starting new businesses, and of course their upcoming annual conference that will be held close here to St. Louis in Kansas City. So stay tuned. This is certainly a conversation you want to hear. And if possible, maybe you guys can scoot up to Kansas City and check out the NSBE conference.
It couldn't be closer. Well, it could, but all things considered.
Absolutely.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
How do successful people think? According to author Tom Black of Boxcar Millionaire, here are 5 more beliefs of highly successful people. Successful people are willing to leave their comfort zones. Successful people are consummate professionals and behave accordingly. Successful people accept change as a part of life willingly and completely. And finally, successful people make decisions quickly and then take immediate action. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Terrence Freeman, St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley, and a member of the NSBE chapter of St. Louis. When I look at all of the elements of training that it takes to be a successful engineer, I don't see very much difference between the engineering mindset and the entrepreneurial mindset. And so there's nothing out there that you are not willing to do or try, and that ability to actually step out on faith.
So Ron and Terry, Dr. Freeman gave me permission to call him Terry or Terrence, so I'm going to take advantage of that generosity. Thank you both for joining us. As I said, my husband's an engineer, and he reminds me that he spent 5 years pretty much with a book in a quiet nook trying to figure out how to be the man he is today. So the fact that you have an organization dedicated to helping other young people figure out what is an incredibly challenging yet very rewarding way of building your life and your career, I thank you on their behalf. But I'm really eager for you to introduce yourself, tell us about yourself and about NSBE. So, Ron, do you want to get us started?
Yes. My name is Ron Moore, graduated from Sumner High School. While I was in high school, I joined the Missouri National Guard, doing between my junior and senior year of high school. And then I graduated early, went to SIU. Then I joined ROTC. And after about 4 years, became an officer in the Missouri National Guard. Did almost 20 years as a combat engineer and field artillery officer.
Wow.
Like I said, I graduated from SIU School of Engineering, and then I got my master's degree from Keller Graduate School of Management and Project Management, and then I got my certification in Project Management. And so even though I have an engineering background, I've done a lot more project management than engineering. And I must say that an engineering degree has helped me a lot in life.
So what area in engineering did you get your degree in? Mechanical?
Civil construction.
Okay.
And so I worked on bridges and dams, roads, and then I worked at the Metropolitan Sewer District on wastewater treatment plants and tunneling collection systems that run under the St. Louis area.
And how long have you been part of NSBE?
I left the National Guard after 20 years, and that was the first time I had Saturdays free in a long time. And so a friend says, hey, they're starting up a alumni chapter at the Boeing Corporation. I guess it was McDonnell Douglas. And I came out, and there was like 75 people there. So I was like, wow, this is the most black engineers I've ever seen.
Wow.
And so I became hooked, and after a couple of years, I took on the role of developing the pre-college initiative program in St. Louis, of getting 6th to 12th graders involved in engineering.
Fantastic.
And that's what you do now.
I'm still doing it.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And we're going to talk more about that. Terry, tell us about yourself.
Okay, I went to school in Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute for my undergraduate degree in engineering. I grew up in Ohio, although I was born in St. Louis, spent my summers here.
So let me interrupt you, because if you don't know about Rensselaer, that's for really, really smart people.
Wait till you tell you the rest.
Okay.
I know.
Okay,
I think now I have to call him Dr. Freeman.
I don't know exactly how to respond to that.
So give her $5.
It was for people who wanted to get used to the cold. I'll tell you that. Okay, that is my first winter there, when I rolled over at 7:30 in the morning to hear that the temperature was -20 with a wind chill of -59.
Oh, God bless you. Smart but cold.
I had to keep thinking that full scholarship.
Oh, amen.
That's the reason I'm here.
Yes.
This cold will pass. And that is, went on from there. And in going there, I was part of the first double-digit population of African-American students.
Wow.
Attending.
That's huge.
That campus.
With a full scholarship.
With a full scholarship.
Let's not have that.
And that was
lost anywhere along the way.
There were just a handful of undergraduate upperclassmen. And no graduate student that I knew. There were some African graduate students, but not African American. And after that, I went on to get my master's degree at MIT.
At where?
MIT. It's
for other really, 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 really smart people.
or fortunate people. That is one of the things that I remind my students, because I'm currently the engineering science coordinator at St. Louis Community College, primarily at the Florissant Valley campus.
Yes.
And we use some of the materials in my thermodynamics class. I post videos from MIT, for them to study with. So students, regardless of where they're starting, it's really going to be a question of their drive and of their determination.
Absolutely.
More so than the name of the school. And what's important about the school is whether or not it fits you at that particular time, not the name of the school, not the reputation of the school. I use this metaphorically when I'm talking to students, that if you see a shoe that's cute and you try it on and it's 2 sizes too small, but you try to wear it anyway, you will be in tears.
Yes.
Yeah, so anytime you go to the place that doesn't fit you, it doesn't serve you well, regardless of what the reputation is. Yeah, so there were phenomenal experiences for me. They exposed me to a lot. I went on to get my PhD from the University of Missouri at St. Louis.
Also a place for smart people.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. Well, college is a place for, and I like to think of college as just a place for people who are willing to subject themselves to a transformative experience.
That's
and
a good way
college
to,
is where, it's not where you go to learn as much as where you go to learn how to learn and
I
how
agree.
to take ownership of how you're going to move forward in the world. And if you're not doing that, if you're just attending classes because you think you're going to get a job, then you miss the opportunity of really learning and fashioning who you are and what you're about. You miss the opportunity to intersect with the wide-ranging diversity that you're going to find in that college experience. You miss the opportunity to really understand that what you will learn in life is going to be so much greater than what you're going to learn in the classroom.
I agree.
And if you just stay in the classroom, it's a missed opportunity.
I agree. I think I've said this a lot to people. If you go to college and the end result is a job, that's not why you're going to college. It is to develop those critical thinking skills. It's to develop how to learn and hopefully the love of learning too as well.
And it is one of the things that I enjoy about engineering is that, and it's one of the things that happens within our program, is that it can take you in so many directions. Yeah, so we've had people in the STEM field, and we'll get into this, that are doctors, lawyers. We had an international opera singer coming out of STEM, that has come before our young people. And right now, thanks to Ron and a partnership, I guess, that we've had through the years, is that our NSBE program is housed at the Florissant Valley campus of St. Louis Community College.
That's great.
And that really works out well for us because back in the late 90s, Florissant Valley St. Louis Community College became the first community college in the country to have a recognized NSBE chapter.
I had no idea.
It was a little surprising to us when we started taking students to NSBE that community colleges weren't considered to be eligible because they weren't baccalaureate institutions. And we actually challenged NSBE on their stance on that, since part of the mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible black engineers. And after a few conversations, we became Chapter 1540 in NSBE, and this will be the 19th year that I'm taking students to a national conference.
That's fantastic.
And so it is, but we partner with other campuses. So we have our program housed at the campus, but we are working with students at about 6 colleges in the area.
Okay. Great. So let me ask you this, because right before the break, we talked a little bit about the history of NSBE and how it started. It's wonderful to hear that Flo Valley was the chapter here. Were you integral in starting that chapter, Terry?
I was the advisor at the time that we went to the national convention, and it's a little interesting in how it developed that when we traveled, when I took the first class, because we started out as a society of black engineers at the campus. And the first time we took students to a national convention, when we got there, we wanted to have the name of our school printed on the badges. And the reaction is that you can only have at large printed on your badges because you're not recognized as a chapter. And we didn't understand the printer is right there. The keyboard is right there. We're standing right
and
here.
And we have the engineering prowess to make this happen.
And I was a little I said, I think we could do this.
Right.
But they said no, and they explained the reason why, and that launched our mission to become a chapter. And it took a little over a year, but if they had just printed our names on the badges at that point in time,
wow,
who knows? And I think it's just a reminder is that sometimes the challenges that we face are the opportunities that we live. And had that not happened, we wouldn't have gone forward
would not be a
to achieve that.
That's fantastic.
So what are the priorities of the NSBE chapter, the local? Well, let's start with national and then your local chapter.
Well, we pretty much have the same mission and goals. Personally, my goal here is to increase the number of young people that are exposed to STEM, and we've worked with some kids. I recently just came from Rawbridge School on Wednesday, and they had some kindergartners presenting science projects.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing, what they can learn, and I'm an advocate believer that you can never start too young.
Absolutely.
And the younger the better. And so over the years, we've had several thousand students actually come through the St. Louis program or be exposed to it. We've had over 300 actually go to engineering school and graduate. And then we've had probably about 5 or 6 young people that have gotten PhDs or in the process of getting a PhD in engineering.
That's fantastic.
That's amazing. I remember it's so funny because my sister, like I said, she is a chemical engineer, and she went to University of Wisconsin. I think at the time that she graduated, and this was late 1990s, she was the only black female that finished that program. And thermodynamics, I remember being on the phone with her many nights where she was like,
oh my,
this is about to kill me.
Oh my, yes.
But having come out of that, and she went on to she has her MBA and JD. So it's a combination of just like what you talked about, Terry, of how the foundation was started in engineering.
Right.
But it goes on. And I'd be interested to talk to you guys about, the programming. You talked about you all started kindergarten?
Well, we've started a engineering club at Walbridge because they wanted to make their grade school a STEM. One reason is to make sure it didn't get closed and to draw more students to it versus going to charter schools, which were very close by. And it is actually working very well. And we actually, about 25 students are going to come up on Friday and Saturday and actually attend the convention.
Oh, that's great.
And we're also bringing additional students beyond the regular 150 we work with from Jennings, Normandy, Riverview, and for Sean.
That's great.
That is outstanding. So is this going to be the first time a lot of these kids have come?
The one thing, because they were outside of our regular program that meets at the college once a month, and so we decided to start programs at these schools, and we're providing them some resources like Raspberry Pi computers, electrical circuits kits, magnetism kits, things to really get them excited about engineering.
That is wonderful.
And then how does it run the gamut? So it's about getting young people excited about STEM and exploring STEM opportunities. And then it sounds like it's also about building strength and capacity for those students who opt to go into a program, because we know it's not easy no matter what. And
we mentor them all the way from 5th grade all the way through college and into adulthood.
There are so many places, just as you mentioned thermodynamics, and I just in the last few days had to assign midterm grades in thermo. But there are so many places where someone could stop out or opt out or run into challenges.
It's hard.
And so we've talked to astronauts that mentioned from the podium that they had flunked thermo 3 times. And so having a challenge in engineering school is, again, it's a challenging space, but a transformative space. One that I think is what I would liken to an entrepreneurial mindset.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that as you're constantly moving forward, we want to take so many of the young people who have a fear of math or a fear of science that is ingrained in elementary school. And if they don't have exposure, at the community college, one of the things that I've been able to see through the years are a lot of students that when we've taken them to national conventions, the first time that they've flown. Or the first time that they've been someplace significant. And a lot of the students that we take, it's the first time that they're staying in a 4-star or 5-star hotel. And all of those exposures that when students in elementary school or middle school can talk about having met a 4-star general or having met a CEO or traveling in circles and actually being exposed to math and physics and hands-on activities and people who are doing that for a living, then they become more academically courageous.
Absolutely. I
love that
I
idea.
believe in that. I think that a
Courage.
lot of kids, especially kids of color, they're not mentors to help break down those barriers of understanding math and science.
And I was that kid who said I wasn't good at math. Give me words, I was good. Give me math, I was out of my depth. But
We have
changed over the years.
We have math teachers now, and a couple of math teachers who started out with anxiety about math. And I have a student who's currently at Notre Dame working on a PhD who started in the lowest level of math that we offer at the college.
Wow.
And just got stronger as she went along. I use materials from a professor out west who was told that he was not college material and came to the community college and later got his PhD from Arizona State University after getting his master's from Washington University. So those stories are out there.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that Ron has just a track record of is creating those stories. And he wouldn't claim that he's creating those stories, but I would say that he's creating the opportunity for those stories to happen.
Absolutely.
So tell us about one of those stories. Oh,
As soon as we come back.
yes.
Meet the ambassadors.
And it was my passion as well as my professional experience that really wanted me to get involved with Alive and Well so that I can equip myself with some knowledge, tools, and resources around emotional wellness and trauma and just some mental health pieces and go into the community and share some of what I've been equipped with to help people heal.
If you're interested in being a part of Alive and Well STL and helping continue the conversation, please take 5. Log on to aliveandwellstl.com.
My name is Ronald Moore. I'm a retired military engineering officer with the Missouri National Guard and a retired engineer. When I think about entrepreneurship, I always think about solving a problem and being compensated for it. So I think the first thing is you must understand the business process in whatever environment you're in.
So, Ron, Terry talked about you creating the opportunities for greatness to occur, for stories to be made and written. Can you tell us about some of those stories?
I'll tell you about one young man that came to us when he was in high school. And I wanted him to go to the convention with us, and he took me to meet his mother, and they were living in a homeless shelter. And his mother wouldn't let him go for some reason. She didn't think it was applicable.
She didn't understand.
She didn't understand.
Right.
And so, but we continued to work with this young man. He was accepted to the University of Missouri, Rolla, S&T.
Yeah.
And he just showed up there. I mean, he had sent in his paperwork, but he hadn't completed it all. So for the first 4 or 5 days, he was sleeping in the student center. So we called Floyd Harris down there. Floyd took him to his house, got his paperwork straight. He struggled academically, but he was very smart. But he eventually graduated with an aerospace engineering degree.
Wow.
Then he started a master's degree. Then he got an MBA degree. And recently, he works for the Boeing Corporation. He donated $1,500 to our local chapter, which Boeing matched. So $3,000 right there.
Fantastic.
So those are the type of stories that I feel good about. Young people that we worked with, and they appreciated what we did for them, and they're giving back.
And NSBE is well known for doing that. I went to an HBCU. I went to Fisk for undergrad, and I'm not an engineer. I went the medical route, but I think how you guys surround and support young people is almost like an HBCU. Fisk, the whole thing around Fisk was, it might be difficult to get in, but you are going to graduate.
Right.
And we're going to make sure
Deeply
that
committed
you
to
graduate,
success.
and not just graduate, but go on to professional schools or medical schools or wherever you need to go. And that's the way I see with your organization, is that you guys are taking these kids in. Many of them have not been exposed to engineering. Many of them have not been exposed to STEM careers and opportunities. And what is engineering? That's a scary term for a lot of kids, because they're thinking,
It's a foreign language.
right, I got to be,
I didn't know an engineer till I met my husband. and then I needed to watch a lot of How It's Made to figure out what he did.
Right.
I just had no frame of reference, so I can't imagine any other. I would never have opted for engineering.
I'll give you one good statistic. We've had 6 general officers in the military do some type of program or speak to our kids. General Darren McDew over at Scott Air Force Base, Admiral Michelle Howard, 4-star Admiral Navy, Lieutenant General Joe Ballard was the Chief of the Corps of Engineers under the Clinton administration. Lieutenant General Tracy Harris is an engineer and pilot. Well, all of these are engineers. All of these 6 are
And
engineers.
are these all people of color?
Yes. Major General Harold and General David Turner. All of these people have some exposure and met with the kids here in St. Louis, which is based right at Florissant Valley Community College in Ferguson.
And one of the things we talk about a lot is the importance of seeing yourself. For entrepreneurs to see themselves in the mentors and subject matter experts that are working with them. And that is so ingrained in what you all are doing at NSBE is I wouldn't know those names.
Yes.
And a lot of kids don't know those names. Right. But making sure that they're aware that not only is this possible, but it's people who look like me and who come from situations, backgrounds, environments, and hometowns like mine that are making these same life choices.
I think there's also that aspect of them. It normalizes
absolutely
hanging with the big dogs.
Yes.
So that it's... Oh, you're only a 2-star general? We had a 4-star last week.
Exactly.
But that is, but it gives a new wrinkle to how I spent my summer vacation, or what I did during that interim, and so they start to. It raises what they expect of themselves.
I was going to say it raises the expectations. I think also too when you talk about engineering, it's along the same line. I think you guys mentioned it. It's the same type of thinking when you talk about entrepreneurship and innovation. To get into that. Because you're solving problems as an engineer, and that's what entrepreneurs do, is solve problems.
Some people know it, but Arnold Donald was an engineering student at Washington University. He was a part of the national program being set up, and he was the first national treasurer. So, he went on to own the company that make Equal Sugar and a bunch of other companies, and now he's the CEO of Carnival Cruise Line. Lawrence Nawachuka owns Basilico Engineering, is a member of our chapter. Abe Nicole, at Abney Engineering. Tony Thompson, Kwame Building Group. Chris Peoples owns a surveying company here. Bob Coleman, who went to Sumner High School where I went to, he started a venture capital. He owned a 7-Up bottling company here and Whitney Watch Company at one time. So we have lots of entrepreneurs.
I was going to say, and right here in St. Louis, grew up in St. Louis, worked in St. Louis.
We have a budding entrepreneur, and I guess budding is probably... maybe not accurate. A young lady who came out of Normandy High School who just left General Mills to go out on her own. And she's doing phenomenally well. She went through Florissant Valley, went to Missouri S&T, and when she comes back, we have students all over the country. And when they come back, they check in. And we have tiers of students, so there's a lot of cross-mentoring, and it's a family connection. I refer, when they have children, I call them my grand students. And so we get to meet them, and that connection and watching someone who graduated 10 years ago mentor someone who graduated 5 years ago, and part of that comes out of what we've been able to do. And we've built on Inroads, and we've been connected to Inroads and other organizations, bridge programs that we've done, I think, probably, and Ron has done, best practices. We have borrowed best practices from programs that we see, and there's a strong parental support group that really creates that sense of neighborhood and community, where adults know the children and know the children that the parents that they belong to, and that extended community.
And people trust the organization. You guys have been around for many, many years, and in St. Louis, you're very impactful for what you guys are doing. It's not just a student focus, but you're bringing these professionals. What are you guys doing from a professional side in your chapter? Maybe we have professional development.
We bring some of the people that I just mentioned in to talk to our membership, and they talk about entrepreneurship, venture capital, financing, things like that. And then we network among each other to help each other find best business practices for our own individual businesses.
And then also the mentoring, though, that professional chapter is involved in mentoring of the students, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a get and a give,
right?
Or a give and a get.
Well, just like when we go to the convention this year, we've rented 2 or maybe 3 buses. So the WashU students are going with us, St. Louis U, UMSO, Florissant Valley, SIU, and along with the high school and junior high school kids from our chapter.
Those are going to be some fun buses.
I was going to say, and the networks that you start to build with these young kids and with the college kids, them being together, getting to know each other. I see such a strong connection because as you go, you guys did the whole engineering road, but when you meet those hurdles, when you hit those hurdles, you have people to call on. Then.
Yes.
You have networks that you've built at these type of conventions that now you can say, hey, you know what? How did you get through? Because I remember chemistry was my downfall. And I was like, I'm sitting up there with jelly beans putting together D&L isomers because I couldn't see it. You know?
But that's the best reason why kids should start young. Because when you teach it, they just soak it up like water.
It is. I think there's so much missed in terms of what children can do. And I borrow a little bit from my parents because it was no accident that I ended up in STEM. You know, when I asked for a basketball, I got a chemistry set. When I asked for a football, I got a microscope. And that is, you know, so as a black child growing up in the city of Cleveland, you know, before I got out of elementary school, I had a couple of erector sets. I had a microscope. I had a telescope. And these were, you know, coming from parents who didn't necessarily have that, and I guess I had achieved true nerd status when I was gifted on Christmas with a 23 scale Pickett aluminum slide rule.
Oh man! Truly, I have to introduce my husband
in a leather case with a belt loop.
That is a thing, and you know how to use it.
And that is, but being exposed to that, and where my dad was, is that you'll get sports in the street. You only need one football in the neighborhood,
right?
But you won't get science in the street,
right?
And that makes all of the difference in what we can do for young children. And when you see how engaged they are when they have hands-on activities,
exciting.
It is.
You know what they're capable of, and they know what they're capable of.
I was going to say, it's connecting the actual science to application. We do that with our inclusion initiative when we bring high school students together to do some hands-on activities to show them that science, what you're learning here in school might be boring, but here's the applications, here are the career paths, here are the opportunities that you can parlay with that.
And what I hear a lot, and we talk about in the context of entrepreneurship as well, is that you're creating a tribe and where you are normalized, right? And so entrepreneurs often find themselves in a situation where they're like, nobody understands why I care so much. Nobody understands why I'm working so hard. Nobody understands the hurdles I'm going through. And then when we put them in a program with other entrepreneurs, all of a sudden it makes perfect sense why they're waking up at 3 a.m. because they just can't get this idea out of their head. And I'm hearing that same strength, kind of debunking the myth of you do it on your own, you're self-made, you pull yourself up by
you
some
always need
proverbial.
a team.
You need a team.
Absolutely.
And so people who may not even self-identify as being entrepreneurial, the commonality of this experience, particularly for engineering, I think, of really needing to be among the people who understand what you're going through, who can provide additional resources, who can help you over the big hurdles and the small setbacks, and who can then encourage this persistence and resilience. I'm just struck by those similarities because that's really powerful to have that, no matter what you go on and do, whether you become an entrepreneur or not, that gives you such an incredible foundation to draw upon.
And you guys have a focus within the NSBE chapter on entrepreneurship. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
We have a focus, but engineering in and of itself is entrepreneurial.
And you hit on that before.
In
It's problem
its
solving.
mindset. And it's not just problem solving, it's problem recognition. Because if you're an excellent problem solver, but you don't recognize the problem, it goes unmet.
Right.
But if you are good at problem recognition, then you can marshal people who are problem solvers to address it. But in its very nature, you are managing time, people, resources, situations, data, execution. And when you look at what an engineer does, there's almost nothing that is separate from being an entrepreneur. Running a project, whether it's $10,000, $10 million, or $1 billion, is like a startup.
Speaking of billionaires, people might not know this, but Robert Smith, who was an NSBE member who just donated, I think, $75 million to Cornell University, African American, former NSBE. He's worth about $3 billion. You know, people like that sometimes are at the conventions. Michael Chin, African American, grew up in Jamaica. Is a billionaire in Canada. Mark Dean, the co-inventor of IBM PC. I was talking to the group of young kids, and they said, "Does he make a lot of money?" I said, "I don't know. Let's type in." It said it's worth $800 million.
I think that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And so at the convention, you'll see some people like this, like Bob Johnson from BET was the guest speaker one year. Michael Chin from Canada was there one year.
And we got to talk about the conference, people.
Right.
And so if I were going to the conference,
yes,
what would be the major takeaways we want to hit on in terms of saying to people, this is a place for you to...
networking, mentorship.
There are probably 5 different reasons to be at that convention, each of which would stand alone as a reason. And so if I were to look at one of them, especially from students, a tremendous number of workshops. And all of this is really wrapped into networking and mentoring. But a tremendous number of workshops by some very accomplished people. Just that opportunity to learn alone is worth it. There are competitions that they have, the Boeing flight competition, and we were actually the community college that beat some of the heavyweights one year when we won that competition. But a story for another time. The perhaps one of the largest career fairs, if not the largest technical career fair of any convention, with about 300 to 400 companies that bring their A game to the convention.
That's what's really key.
So it's not an 8-foot table where you go. This is General Motors with a Corvette sitting on the floor. This is Google with a 20 or 25-foot sign. So they're bringing their A games, and they're interviewing on site for permanent employment or internships. And students can get an offer on site. They have hospitality suites in the evening with major corporations, so it's an opportunity to engage socially and to interact. You have, from the mentoring standpoint, it runs, you will see children in elementary school all the way through postdocs that are in attendance, and professionals. So if you throw a rock in any direction, you're going to hit someone on the engineering continuum.
Great.
And so the conversations in and outside of it. And then there's some parties.
Fabulous. We love parties. We love food.
So if I'm not a NSBE member, if I'm not a NSBE, if I'm not an engineering student yet, if I want to come to this convention, is this something that
they
is
could
open
register
to me?
they could register for the convention. There are a lot of people that attend that are not engineering students. They might be parents. They might be academic advisors, student counselors at different schools.
Because I think that's key
so if
for
I
our
am
listeners.
engineering curious?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I think that's very interesting for our audience. We have a large audience regionally that expands to the Kansas City market. And especially for those parents who, just like your parents or Terrence, I think I'm a big proponent of that.
Oh, yeah.
I, try to expose my kid as much as possible to STEM careers. So if I wanted to have my kid come over and be a part of this conference, what do I just go on your website?
Well, you'd have to go to NSBE.org and register, and the parent would have to register as a chaperone also to bring them. If they were part of our chapter, then we would register.
Right.
But that's how someone would get involved. If you go to the national website at NSBE.org, there are lots of video highlights from all the conventions, even coming back to St. Louis in 2011. And that was an amazing convention. We had about 8,500. I think the convention in Kansas City is going to reach 13,000.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, and if you can't make it to the conference, there are chapters throughout our city, including the Flow Valley, St. Louis Community College location. So I sometimes hear that, I can't find a woman this or an African American that, and so what I'm hearing now is that if you're looking for an African American engineer,
see us.
We know where to find them. There is no, while there should always be more, it is not as though those folks aren't in our community doing great work and creating wonderful opportunities. So
and I was going to say,
no excuses, folks.
Right. For those who are in the startup community, because I've worked with some individuals that needed get some engineering advice. This is a great opportunity to engage the NSBE chapter.
Absolutely.
We were developing or looking at developing a technology and had to go to Missouri S&T to find some expert advice with that. It could have came right here to the chapter, local chapter here, and probably been connected. So I leave that out there for our listeners. If you're developing or you want some feedback or, from a technical standpoint, you got an organization right here that can provide that.
Yeah. And if you're not already spending tons of time as a NSBE mentor and you want to find other ways to give back, we're looking for subject matter experts. We're looking for mentors, and we're looking to help those with the entrepreneurial spirit to get connected. So whether it's through us or through NSBE, we hope you'll take advantage of those opportunities.
And not just for engineers and engineering, because part of what we provide, in addition to the chemistry and the physics and the electronics and the CAD and the hands-on and the ACT prep, we're also doing communications and resume writing and English. So we're not just teaching discipline, we're teaching students and working with students and really trying to ingrain that they don't start out, and this is part of the entrepreneurial mindset, don't start out to make money, start out to make a difference.
Oh, I love that.
And when you pursue that, that's what keeps you're really on track.
And having passion around what you're doing. Because if you don't have passion around it,
it really doesn't matter because you're not going to have the life you want.
Exactly.
It is. I have what I call a sweet spot, and that's where passion, purpose, and preparation intersect. And it's important to have passion, but not all passions need to be followed.
Agreed. I train entrepreneurs, so I understand.
And that is, but your purpose is externally reflected. When you are doing that thing that you should be doing and it's resonating with people around you, when you're getting that feedback, you start to identify what your purpose is. And if you can find what you are truly passionate about and that it is truly purposeful and you are prepared to do it, that intersection is what I call the sweet spot, because that's the place, and I love engineering for it, that's the place where you will get paid to do what you would have done for free.
Right.
On that note.
Wow. That was very powerful. Yes.
Please remind us again where everybody can find out information on NSBE.
NSBE.org or NSBE-STL.org for St. Louis.
Great. And if you look these gentlemen up on LinkedIn, I'm sure you'd be able to find them there as well. And the generosity of spirit in this room makes me think that they would be more than happy to hear from you.
St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley, they'll be able to find us.
Excellent. Wonderful. Right. And remember, if you have the opportunity, that the national conference, the annual conference, will be in Kansas City this year at the end of March. So there's still opportunities to register and attend. And if you can't get there, then you can get to your local chapter and connect with some amazing individuals.
What are the dates again for the conference?
March 29th to April 2nd.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us, for sharing your story, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about the great work that you're doing and the entrepreneurs and professionals that you're helping to support.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.